Soft power at home. Why the smartest businesses are built from living rooms. They tell you the economy is built in skyscrapers. I am telling you it is being rebuilt on kitchen islands. While the world chases venture capital and corner offices, a quiet revolution is happening in the domestic sphere. And if you are not paying attention, you are missing the most significant economic restructuring of our generation. This is not about working from home. This is about architecting from home. There is a difference. The living room has become the most underestimated headquarters in the global economy. Not because of nostalgia, not because of necessity, but because of strategic asymmetry. Let me explain what I mean by that. For decades, we have been taught that legitimacy requires physical infrastructure, that serious business demands separation from the domestic, that professionalism and proximity to children are mutually exclusive. This belief system was not accidental. It was architectural. It was cultural. And it was enormously profitable for those who controlled commercial real estate, childcare systems, and the entire apparatus of what we might call the externalized economy. But something fundamental has shifted. The internet did not just democratize access to information. It dissolved the geographic monopoly on economic value creation. And business ideas, the ones that actually scale in this environment, are no longer capital intensive. They are attention intensive. They are relationship intensive. They are trust intensive. And those three resources do not require an office building. They require presence, consistency, and a kind of emotional intelligence that has been historically undervalued in economic models. This is where the maternal advantage becomes visible, because while the traditional business world has spent the last century optimizing for extraction, the domestic sphere has been optimizing for sustainability, for regeneration, for systems that do not collapse under pressure but adapt. These are not soft skills. These are the hardest skills in a volatile economy. Let me walk you through the mechanics of why business ideas launched from home, specifically by women who understand the architecture of care, have a structural advantage right now. First, there is the concept of embedded audience development. When you build from within your lived experience, you are not guessing at market pain points, you are documenting them. You are not trying to manufacture authenticity. You are operating from it. And in an economy where trust is the scarcest resource, this is not a nice to have. This is foundational. The women who are winning in this space are not performing relatability. They are architecting solutions to problems they have already solved in their own lives. And then they are translating that solution into a scalable model. This is what I call the maternal moat. A moat, in business terms, is a competitive advantage that is difficult to replicate. Warren Buffett talks about this constantly. He looks for companies with structural protections against competition. The maternal moat is the combination of lived expertise, cultivated trust, and systems thinking that comes from managing complexity in real time. It is extremely difficult to fake, and even harder to scale artificially. When you have spent years managing unpredictable schedules, navigating emotional nuance, and creating order from chaos, you have developed a form of operational intelligence that most business schools do not teach. You have learned to forecast without perfect data, to pivot without losing momentum, to build resilient systems that accommodate disruption. This is not sentimentality. This is strategic capability, and the market is starting to price it correctly. Now let us talk about leverage. In traditional business models, leverage came from capital, infrastructure, or access to distribution. You needed money to make money. You needed physical presence to access customers. You needed gatekeepers to reach scale. But the businesses that are thriving now operate on a different form of leverage. I call it asymmetric leverage. Asymmetric leverage means that your input effort is not linearly correlated with your output value. You create once. You distribute infinitely. You build trust with one person. That trust compounds across networks. This is the entire premise behind digital products, online courses, memberships, and content-driven business models. And this is precisely where business ideas that originate from the home have a natural advantage. Because when you are building from your living room, you are already thinking in terms of efficiency. You are already optimizing for systems that do not require your physical presence at every transaction. You are already designing for scalability because you have to. You do not have the luxury of throwing bodies at a problem. So you build better systems instead. This is not a limitation. This is a design constraint that produces superior architecture. Let me give you a concrete example. A woman who has spent years navigating the complexity of feeding a family, managing dietary restrictions, meal planning under time constraints, understanding nutrition without formal training, she has developed a form of expertise that is worth millions if translated correctly. She could create a meal planning membership, a digital recipe vault, a course on intuitive meal systems, a community for others solving the same problem. None of this requires an office. None of this requires venture funding. None of this requires permission from a gatekeeper. But all of it requires the kind of deep, practiced knowledge that only comes from repetition in context. And that context is often domestic. This is the living room economy. It is not smaller than the skyscraper economy. It is differently structured, and in many ways, it is more resilient, because businesses built from home are not optimizing for quarterly earnings reports. They are optimizing for sustainability, for integration, for models that do not require you to abandon the rest of your life in order to participate. This is not about balance. Balance implies that work and life are opposing forces that need to be managed. This is about integration, about designing an economic life that does not require you to fragment yourself. And that is where the real power lies. Now, I want to address something directly, because I know what some of you are thinking. You are thinking that this sounds good in theory. But what about legitimacy? What about being taken seriously? What about the optics of building something from your dining room table? Here is what I need you to understand. Legitimacy is no longer conferred by location. It is conferred by results. The person sitting across from you on a Zoom call does not know if you are in a penthouse or a one-bedroom apartment. And more importantly, they do not care. What they care about is whether you can solve their problem, whether you can deliver transformation, whether you understand them. The companies that are dominating right now, the ones that are genuinely disrupting industries, most of them started in someone's living room, or dorm room, or garage. Not because those were ideal locations, but because the founder had something more valuable than a prestigious address. They had a solution that mattered, and they had the audacity to believe that was enough. You do not need a corner office to build a corner on the market. You need clarity. You need a model that works. And you need the discipline to execute it consistently. Which brings me to the strategic layer that most people miss. Building a business from home is not just about geography. It is about designing your operational model from first principles. When you are in an office, you inherit a set of assumptions about how business should function. Meeting culture, email norms, the performance of busyness. But when you are building from home, you get to ask a different set of questions. What does productivity actually look like for me? What does focused work require? What is the minimum viable structure that allows me to deliver maximum value? These are not theoretical questions. These are architectural questions, and the answers will determine whether your business scales or stalls. One of the most powerful tools I have encountered for this level of strategic thinking is stepping away from the screen entirely. The cognitive shift that happens when you move from reactive mode to reflective mode is extraordinary. And for that, I rely on something very analog, a high-quality physical planner, not a digital one, not an app. A physical planner that forces me to slow down and architect instead of react. There is something about the tactile experience of writing strategy by hand that activates a different kind of thinking. It creates space, it demands intentionality, and it removes the dopamine loop of notifications and tabs and the endless scroll. When I am designing a new offer, mapping out a content strategy, or thinking through systems, I close the laptop, I sit with the planner, and I give myself permission to think deeply instead of quickly. This is not productivity theater. This is how you build the intellectual infrastructure that allows everything else to function. Because strategy is not about doing more. It is about identifying the few things that matter and doing them with precision. And that level of clarity does not happen in the noise. It happens in the quiet. Now, let us talk about what this looks like in practice. The businesses that are thriving in the living room economy share a few common characteristics. First, they are built on what I call emotional capital. Emotional capital is the trust, goodwill, and relational equity you build with your audience over time. It is not transactional, it is relational. And it is the most valuable currency in the attention economy. When someone trusts you, they do not just buy from you once. They buy from you repeatedly. They refer you, they defend you, they become part of your distribution system. This is why businesses built by women who have cultivated deep, authentic relationships with their audience outperform businesses with larger marketing budgets but shallow connections. Emotional capital compounds. And it is extremely difficult to fake. Second, these businesses are designed for what I call digital nesting. Digital nesting is the practice of creating economic infrastructure within your existing life, rather than requiring your life to conform to your economic infrastructure. It means designing offers that can be delivered asynchronously, building systems that do not require your real-time presence, creating content that works for you while you are doing other things. This is not about passivity. This is about intelligent design. When you understand leverage, when you understand systems, when you understand the power of one-to-many models, you stop trading time for money, and you start building assets that generate value independent of your hourly input. This is how you go from operator to architect. Third, these businesses are optimized for what I call the micro-empire model. A micro-empire is a business that is small by headcount but significant by impact. It is not trying to become a corporation. It is not trying to raise venture funding. It is not trying to hire 50 people. It is trying to generate meaningful revenue with minimal complexity, to create financial sovereignty without sacrificing autonomy. This is the model that makes sense for most people, especially for women who are managing multiple responsibilities and do not want to build something that requires them to become a full-time manager of other people. You do not need to be Amazon. You need to be profitable, you need to be sustainable, and you need to be structured in a way that serves your life, not the other way around. This is the entire premise of the soft power economy. It is not about dominating, it is about designing. It is not about overpowering, it is about outthinking. And the women who understand this are quietly building empires that do not look like empires. They look like intentional lives, with economic engines embedded within them. So where does this leave you? If you are watching this and thinking about starting something, or if you have already started and you are wondering if you are on the right track, here is what I want you to consider. You are not just at home, you are headquartered there. That shift in language matters, because language shapes perception, and perception shapes action. When you see your home as your headquarters, you start making different decisions. You start investing in the infrastructure that supports focused work. You start designing your day around deep work instead of shallow responsiveness. You start treating your time as the finite, non-renewable resource that it is. And you stop apologizing for building something that does not look like everyone else's path. Because the truth is, the most interesting businesses, the ones that actually change markets, they rarely look conventional at the beginning. They look like someone who saw a different possibility, who had the clarity to articulate it, and who had the discipline to build it one decision at a time. That is you. You are not waiting for permission. You are not waiting for perfect conditions. You are not waiting for someone to validate your idea. You are building, from your living room, from your kitchen table, from the corner of your bedroom that you have turned into a studio. And that is not a compromise. That is a strategic advantage, because you are not burdened by the assumptions of the old economy. You are not trying to replicate a model that was designed for a different era. You are designing from first principles. And that is how every significant shift begins. Not with fanfare, not with venture funding, not with a press release, but with one person who decided that the way things have been done is not the only way things can be done, and then built accordingly. So take your seat at the table, the one in your living room, the one in your kitchen, because that is where the future is being built. One business idea at a time. One system at a time. One woman at a time who decided that economic power and domestic life are not mutually exclusive. They are integrated. They are intentional. And they are yours to design. Disclaimer: this content is for educational and informational purposes only and does not replace consultation or assistance from a professional. Always consult a qualified professional for any questions related to finance, business, or investments. Tell us which country or city you are watching from. See you in the next video.